Hey guys, this is Ron with RadiologyTechnologist.com. Checking in on a Friday. I'm just reviewing the stuff that's been going on over the week on Aunt Minnie. It's something I recommend you all do. I know how busy you are, and sometimes it's impossible to do anything but take images and get to the next patient. So I thought I'd take a minute to review some of this stuff for you, just real briefly. Some of it's kind of funny, some of it's stuff that I think you should all know. The first one that caught my eye was titled "Electronic Consults May Avoid Unnecessary Imaging." This was written on August 21st, 2020. It starts out, "Electronic consultations between primary care physicians and radiologists may help avoid unnecessary imaging." Consult us more often and we'll tell you what the proper exam is to order. Better yet, listen to the technologist when they call you and say, "Are you sure you want that with contrast?" That's how you can cut down on the number of exams you order. Let's see. CT interpretation errors more common after hours. This one was written August 19th, 2020. And it starts out, "Body CT interpretation errors are more common during evening and night shifts, and not only among residents, but also radiology attending physicians," according to a published study to August 18th in Radiology. Well, that's nothing new either, right? I mean, the later in the night it gets, the more tired we get. Those of us that work night shift long enough can tell you weird things happen on the night shift, but yet we're worth our weight in gold because nobody else wants to do it. Let's see, let's continue on. Patient tweets show little concern for GBCA retention. This one was written August 20th, 2020. Patients use Twitter to post feedback about their MRI experiences, and although more than 60% of those tweets mention gadolinium-based contrast agents, less than 10% specifically address gadolinium retention. Well, again, we already knew that. That was a big Chuck Norris's wife deal when they put out the lawsuit. That's when it went global and everybody had to start worrying about it. It's not a problem. Let's move on. Let's see what else we got. Found another one here. Let's see. I did a post on this one a couple days ago. I know it's kind of dry and a lot of people don't want to hear about the numbers, but it's important that you pay attention because it affects your paycheck. This one's titled, "Medicare Proposes Major Cut to Radiology for 2021. This one was written on August 18th, 2020, and it starts out, "The U.S. Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services has released its annual proposal for changes to the Medicare payment system for the coming year." And if you read that article on Aunt Minnie, you'll see that for general diagnostics, it's up to an 11% reduction in reimbursement. And in my article, that maybe I'll link in the description below if you're interested, I explain how senior administration, well, they'll just see that it's coming in their magazines, ACHE and things like that, and say, okay, it's 11% reduction coming. How are we going to save that? Next time they have the meeting with the radiology director or manager, they're going to say, "Tell me how you're going to save 11% in 2021 to offset this reduction that's coming from Medicare." Or better yet, "Tell me how you're going to cut even more than 11% so that we can make a profit." And I listed in my article the 4 or 5 common ways, which of course is reduction in hours, having less techs to do more work, reducing your annual merit raises or cost of living increases, and basically getting you to do more for less. So pay attention to some of this stuff and make sure that you are a valuable employee. Let's see, what else? There's an article on here that really it's a review of a talk that was given at the AHR annual conference, and it's titled, "Multimodality Technologies Could Shape Radiology's Future." And this one was written August 17, 2020, and it starts out, "Pressures on the healthcare system, such as staffing challenges and growing patient care demand, are prompting a reimagining of job duties and roles in imaging, including interest in developing multimodality technologist positions." How long has that been going on, right? I think I graduated 2005. 5, in my first job, I was a multimodality technologist. I did X-ray and CT. I learned CT as a student. So, yeah, multimodality techs are worth their weight in gold. But my experience over almost 2 decades of radiology is the more you learn how to do, the more they'll expect you to do for the same amount of pay. Now, you do get a little bit of a raise from time to time. You jump, I don't know, $1 or $2 going from X-ray to CT, and a couple bucks from CT to MR, etc. But you guys at the critical access hospitals really have to be careful, because they'll have you running the whole thing, or outpatient clinics, they'll have you running the whole thing. In fact, I just went out and helped a buddy of mine who owns an imaging center in Wyoming, and they had 2 technologists in that place. That's it, full-time, 2 techs, and they had MRI, CT, X-ray, DEXA, mammography, and ultrasound. And I actually went out there to be a 3rd tech, to be an ultrasound tech, because those multimodality techs were doing everything else. They're like, there's no way we can do ultrasound. So learn what you can to become more valuable, but also learn what you're worth and stick to your guns on what you should be paid. Don't get beat over the head with low wages and carrying the whole office. Let's see. I'll go one more level deep here, and then we'll call it a day, and you guys can get out and have a good weekend. Let's see. Thermal burns top the FDA list of MRI adverse event reports. And why do you think that is? This was from August 13th, 2020. It starts out, 10 years of MRI adverse event reports show burns from coils and electrocardiography leads during scans are among the most common and preventable causes for patient injuries, according to a study presented Thursday at the International Society for Magnetic Resonance in Medicine. So you got to make sure you take off your ECG leads. You got to be careful of your coils, and what they're not talking about here, and I've brought this up in a couple forums because there's still a lot of people that don't know about it, is though the UV tattoos, the black light tattoos, are getting more popular. Those are the tattoos that you can only see under a black light. You can't see them out in the daylight. You can only see them at the parties where there's black lights on. That ink most of the time has metallic remnants in it, and it is causing burns and uncomfortable procedures for people, because these patients come in and we ask them the questions and they think, well, they can't see it, so I don't need to tell them about it. And then next thing you know, they're squealing and squeezing their help me bulb right in the scanner. And so you've got to ask that question. If it's not a part of your questionnaire, you need to add it. Do you have any ultra tattoos? And I think I'll end it there. It's Friday. I'm enjoying a little bit of my Purple Haze Bang. I finally figured out why these things are so awesome. It's because they have 300 milligrams of caffeine in them. So if you need a little pick-me-up, this is by no means a shill for Bang, but I sure like them. You guys stay safe out there. Remember, you have value. You've been to school. You've done the thousands of clinical hours to become a technologist. Don't let anybody tell you any different. Have a great weekend, and like and subscribe. Might help me out. Who knows? See ya.